Adventure Ho Lumineers. No, your ears, and for some of you, your eyes, are not deceiving you. This is a new voice. This is Uncle Scrooge for the first time hosting the pod. The gentlemen have kindly let me take the mic for my first inaugural introduction. And so I would like to say thank you for having me. I'm so excited to join. And we'll go ahead and jump into some of the news that we have today. We are talking about the anniversary event, set champs. We got a ton of things on the docket today. So let's go ahead and jump over to Mac and we'll let him dive in.
Great introduction, Konnor. So proud of you. You got the first one off your back, so there you go. Well done. Just got the closer for you later. But jumping into anniversary news, again, a reminder for the Minnesota third year anniversary event. Date and location still hasn't changed, still here. So August 22nd and 23rd at the Game Center in Roseville, Minnesota. But there is some new news to share for this week, and we officially have some events to share with you. The events have been posted on PlayHub, so if you have an account, you can start searching. The best way for me to search through it was Game Center, Roseville, Minnesota, and then searching all the way down to those August 22nd and 23rd dates. And if you don't have a PlayHub account, you'll need one to sign up if you're planning on attending. So please do that. So let's start with Saturday, what we do know so far. The main event Saturday is going to be a standard core constructed event. As of right now, there are 128 spots available. And as the time of this recording, on the 7th of July, only 8 players are signed up, but that will fill up. I think last year, I don't know if y'all remember, it had to be close to 70 or 80 people did the main event or around there last year. So we had definitely a good crowd for the main event. That main event will all occur that day, because one of the feedbacks from last year was having more opportunity for the individuals participating in the Saturday main event to also participate in other events on Sunday. So that's the plan. But Saturday main event starts at 10 a.m. Central Time for Core Constructed. Also happening on Saturday is a Saturday Chaos Sealed event. For those of you who don't remember, Chaos Sealed is you're given 6 random packs from various sets, and that's how you build your sealed deck. That will start at 2:45 in the afternoon Central Time. And then lastly, there's a Saturday Chaos Draft. Again, Chaos, 4 random packs. And that will start at 5:15 Central Time. That's Saturday. On Sunday, the 23rd, the main event will be Infinity Constructed. As of right now, there are 64 spots available for that Infinity event. Again, starting at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. At 11 a.m., there will be a Attack of the Vine pre-release sealed event. So 32 spots available for that one. And then at 2 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, there will be another Sunday Chaos Draft. Again, starting at 2 p.m. I think the reason is we see a lot of sealed, especially during pre-release weekend. And the idea is to get more draft involved here locally. So we got 2 draft events, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. Very, very excited for these events. Still more news to share as we get it, and we'll continue to filter that through, but wanted to share that news first of all. Again, all of this is on PlayHub, so please look it up on PlayHub and start signing up for those events. Very excited to see everyone there, and it is like a month and a half away, so it was just kind of wild that we're 6 weeks away basically from this event, and had a blast last year and can't wait for it to happen this year. So we'll continue to harp on this. Going back to you, Konnor.
Yes, thank you, Mac. The details are making my card playing, mouth water. I'm very, very excited. All the drafts are sealed. It sounds so exciting. I can't wait to sign up and get building. I know we're going to be talking about some deck building later on today, and really getting into our favorites, whether it's the ink combinations or individual cards. But we'll go ahead and dive first into our favorite segment, of course, with what is new in your world. Let's go over and toss it over to Nathaniel, see how he's doing today, and we'll check in.
Yeah, thanks, Konnor. So from a Lorcana perspective, I was able to make it to my second set champs of this set. So I did the first weekend and the final weekend. So that was kind of interesting. I wanted to mix it up for this one, so I'll talk a little bit more about what I did for that. eerily similar to what Ryan did for his. Wink, wink. And I think outside of that, biggest thing, it was the 4th of July here, celebration here in the United States for those of our international listeners who may not celebrate that the same way that we do. So we always go to this really big parade in a nearby town. It was super, super fun. There's a splash pad nearby, so with it being summer and extremely hot, really great for the kids. So lots of family time this weekend. It was really awesome, but also was able to get out, play a little bit of Lorcana, and say goodbye to this rotation, right? Like, we are going to lose sets 5 through 8, so I got one last chance to play them. And a hint for when we talk about it later on this episode, I didn't run purple. I'll pass it over to Ryan.
Very excited to talk about the Set Champs experience with you all today. It was a blast to play also not purple and play with some sets 5 through 8 cards that we will not be able to play with in Core Constructed following the rotation with Attack of the Vines release. So, personal front, celebrated the 4th, went to a parade, always a blast at a parade, got way too much candy. The kids ate way too much candy, but that's exactly what they should be doing, right? That's parade days and parade memories. We also started swimming lessons this week, and that is fun as well, being able to get in the pool with the kiddos and let them splash around and jump off the side of the pool and under the water into your arms and practice our swimming strokes and make sure that we're safe around the water. So it's great to be able to get that activity in just before we have some more lake time throughout the summer. And then otherwise on a Lorcana front, I'm just logging and organizing all of the cards that I have yet to log and organize from the set 12 time frame. It was just a 10-week set, but boy, do I feel like I have a lot of cards I need to get logged in into Dreamborn, so I know exactly what's happening. So if y'all need any commons or uncommons, you let me know from sets 10 through 12. I probably got plenty of spare play sets for y'all. So just hit me up offline afterwards. But yeah, otherwise the Set Champs is the big Lorcana update, and it was a blast. I was able to get a shiny promo for my efforts and got to play a really fun deck that we won't be able to play with in the future. Mac, what's new in your world?
I'll tell you what, new in my world, not a lot of Lorcana, but I do have something funny to share with you guys on that regards. My Lorcana news, you know how like Google has those, like, as soon as you pull up the browser, it has like your top 5 things that are listed there. I just looked, 4 out of my top 5 things are Lorcana related, that being like Play Hub and online testing and Dreamborn and, just things of that nature. So I guess that's my Lorcana news. It truly has taken over our lives from our hobby perspective in the sense that Google recognizes it too on my end. The other Lorcana thing is I'm so excited that like Pixar obviously has been here for this set, but you can feel it, I think, in the community that like the next iteration of Pixar is right around the corner, right? With like Monsters Inc., for example, or like Turning Red or Up. Like, I think a lot of people are excited with these franchises, and I will continue to send Ravensburger the praise that they need and deserve for having Pixar be a part of this and doing it so effectively, at least for the first couple sets that it's been a part of. Non-Lorcana related, 4th of July related also, did a little trip to Wisconsin for some grandparents to have our little ones hang out with grandparents in Wisconsin. So that was a lot of fun. Did the classic Midwestern thing, hanging out on a lake, just swimming and boating as much as possible, getting your kids really, really tired, and then still forcing them to stay up until 10 p.m. to watch fireworks. Although my boys loved it. They had a great time. But on our walk back from the dock that we were at, which is like 2 blocks away from the house we were staying at, my oldest was just like, I'm staying up for 24 hours, Dad. I was like, okay. We got inside. He sat on his bed, and I think by the time I, tucked him in bed and then went around to his brother because they were sharing a bed, I think he was already asleep. So, like, he was completely passed out. But they had a grand old time with their grandparents. And, and the other last bit of news is my wife and I finally got to see Toy Story 5, very much on brand with Lorcana, and loved it. Toy Story never disappoints, for sure. and I think it'll be another classic for years to come in the Toy Story franchise for sure. So a lot of fun news happening my way, and I can't wait to get back into the Lorcana play testing as things start to settle down after the holiday weekend. But Konnor, last and certainly not least, what's new in your world?
Yeah, thank you. Lorcana based. I wasn't able to get out to any more set champs, which, that's all right. Sometimes life just doesn't add up. And, your wife's birthday, and then 4th of July, and then kids are sick, and that's just life. And so, as a Lorcana dad, I mean, most of us will have those moments every other couple of weeks. But it was, it's just, as Ryan alluded to, just storing and organizing cards. I am a bit of a, you know, anal retentive organizer. I have my specific system and all the details and all of it lined up explicitly how I want it. And now that the sets are rotating out, I have to update it. I have to change it. And so I'm almost done. I have almost everything uploaded into Dreamborn. And, maybe by the next day or two, I'll have everything finalized and ready to start building and crafting, because the grind, as, Max said, is really something I'm looking forward to. Just play testing and trying out different techniques and different deck lists and combinations. I mean, we have more interplay with the discard, and locations are becoming a little bit more viable. And maybe I'll try running something other than blue green, but probably starting with blue green. And so we're looking at a couple different things, but yeah, overall, just excited for the new set to come out. Which, leading into my personal life, it's kind of a bittersweet. I unfortunately will be missing out on the opening weekend of this sealed pre-release event because I am going to the World Cup. I don't know if any of our listeners have been watching or following along. Sadly, the U.S. Team got knocked out the other night, but I have been watching a tremendous amount of soccer and have been thoroughly enjoying watching anxiously to see who we are going to watch, because I got tickets to go to the 3rd place, 4th place match, and we have no idea who it's going to be, but we are going to have a great time regardless. I mean, the last 7 or 8 teams that are lining up, it's looking great regardless of what happens. So it'll be a once in a lifetime opportunity. Absolutely incredible. However, my father did rupture his Achilles, so that'll put a wee bit of a challenge into the navigation and seats and travel. However, we are going to take it, one day at a time. But overall, I'm very, very excited. I mean, again, 4th of July, we went to a family cabin, fishing, boating, anything possible, just enjoying the weather, and seeing the family is always great. But yeah, so that's what I've got going on, and it's it's coming. It's a week and a half away, and man, it could not get here soon enough. And so let's go ahead and I think maybe Ryan, you have some experience with Achilles. Is that true?
Yeah, a few years ago, I did do the same type of injury. I ruptured my Achilles. I think we've talked about it before on the podcast, but I do believe that night 2 former soccer players retired from their playing days, both of which are on this podcast that I am aware of. So it sucks that I had to go through the pain of it, but I'm glad that I saved Nathaniel the pain of having to experience it himself. So welcome to your 30s. Here's a ruptured Achilles. Yeah, but Con, I didn't know you were going to the World Cup. That's incredible.
Yeah, I haven't really told too many people. It's just been busy, but I snagged some good tickets around maybe early to mid May. They had started going on some pretty deep discounts, because I don't know if any of you have been following some of the news, but the ticket prices are a little bit up there. And so when they started realizing that certain things weren't selling out, they started hacking prices left and right, doing little bundles. And so I was able to get a nice little bundle for my dad and I. Not saying I did not spend an arm and a leg. However, the last time the World Cup was in the United States was 32 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. We'll definitely be recovering a little bit financially and making sure we're being a little bit more frugal the next couple of months. But I could not pass it up. It's too good of an offer, especially since it's going to be the top, probably at least one, if not two, of the top 5 to 6 teams in the world. So it'll be an incredible opportunity to watch, and just can't wait. Can't wait. But without further ado, we'll start diving into some of our topics for today. I know that we kind of alluded to talking about some set champs, and I'm very curious to hear how Nathaniel and Ryan did. So Nathaniel, how about you tell us a little bit more about your non-purple list?
So yeah, I think I've alluded to this before, right? That like ever since rotation hit, I have basically just played different purple decks for weeklies or set champs. It's just been some variety of a purple with another ink combo. I think the only one I didn't run was Amethyst Emerald. I think every other combo of the other 4 that you could have, I ran at some point. And it was a ton of fun, right? Like, I think purple or amethyst was an extremely strong color for the duration of sets 9 through 12. The one that stole my heart, of course, that I did not see coming was Skull Vikings, aka Yurple, aka Amber Amethyst. And I had a great time with that, right? I played that the first weekend of set champs. And as we were kind of looking at the last weekend, Ryan and I were kind of discussing, right? We both had the fortune to get the Woody playmat, and it was like, hey, let's just do something different. And it kind of was in a little bit of light of like Christian's challenge, if you guys remember, during set 8, right? Like on the back end of that pre-rotation, where it was like, play some different stuff. And I found this power line deck where it was Ruby Sapphire, heavy actions, and it leaned entirely into the power line from Fabled shift line of the 2-cost Ruby power line into the 6-cost shift for 4 Singer 9 power line with Max Goof as well in there. He was a 3-cost 4/3 Singer 5. So like these are very important Singer numbers, right? So a Singer 4 on 2 could sing Be King Undisputed, make them choose and banish one of their own guys. A Singer 5 on 3 could then sing things like Ryan, what's the 5-cost uninkable song that what else can I do?
Grab your bow.
What else can I do and grab your bow?
Or grab your bow. Right. So there's lots of things you can do here, and your turns can be either kind of scuffed, or they can be unbelievably explosive. And let me tell you, was the deck as strong and consistent as Amber Amethyst? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Was it a ton of fun? Yes. And I think for me, it's some of the most fun I've had playing Lorcana. Yes, it was a set champs. Yes, I would have loved to get a Woody promo. Did I bubble out and get 9th? Yes. Did that suck? Absolutely. But it was honestly so fun, and I had there's these moments when you're playing the game, and I think, Konnor, you had really wanted this for me when you were like, hey, play something weird or funny or different, right? If you go to another set champs, the couple of games where I got to like do the crazy loop thing of like the power line singing Dig a Little Deeper, that triggered the power line to then play like another song for free, and then the Dig a Little Deeper got the stuff to like re-ready him, whether it be like a Lilo or a is it Next Stop Olympus, you know, just like these turns that you're just like action over and over again, and your opponent's just like looking at you like, this is obnoxious. It was like kind of funny in a way, right? And it only happened like 2 or 3 times over the course of the 10 games I played, but when it happened, it just felt absolutely incredible. And I think, like, yes, it can experience some kind of low lows, but that high of just like doing the thing, and like, I just thought it was so much fun. And I was close. I think I got 9th off of the 4th tiebreaker, so that kind of stinks. But I think if the objective was to simply have fun with something different, a little bit unique, then that was certainly achieved. And I do understand that DLC Brazil happened and Red Blue Actions was prevalent there, but I think that was a different list than what we had chosen. There's still like ramp in there and stuff, and I think it did not really rely on the power line thing, which in some ways can either like it just swings the pendulum, I think. And so yeah, I lost to Ruby Amber Toys, and I saw my worst matchup Blurple, which effectively knocked me out. But the deck that this kind of preys on is Amber Emerald Dogs, and I finally saw it in my final match, and yeah, it ate it alive. It was crazy how much this deck could interrupt what Dogs is doing, right? Because like that's been like the tier 0 deck now for at least 2 sets, if not, you could argue 3, right? Like even it started to crop up during Fabled now, but like 10 definitely rose to humongous prominence. 11 and now 12, it has been absolutely just dominating the pro scene. So to play a deck that kind of really interrupts that was fun and interesting. So yeah, I gotta say, it was really cool. And to Ryan's earlier point, right, like there's tons of cards in that list that won't be viable post rotation. Things like Maui Half Shark or Vision of the Future, some really important cards to like make it work. So it was really fun to play. So I think that was really great. And I didn't mention this last week, but Christian and Hannah, our guests from last week, are on the same team as me, Team Arcana. They both came to the set champs, and they brought their son as well, and he played. So really cool to see them. Christian actually went all the way to the final, so kudos to him. He's such a strong player. And Ryan, you'd be so happy to hear he was on Blurple. I'll let you talk to your Powerline shenanigans experience next.
I mean, yeah, the Powerline deck, more the actions, the Maui Shark actions deck. One last hurrah to play Maui Shark. I think it was my first time actually playing with Maui Shark in like a competitive sense. So that was a blast to be able to sleeve up that card that I finally got to put to use. But doing the thing of shifting the power line, I probably played into that shift line maybe too many times to where it was disadvantageous to me. But it's one of those things that, like, if this sticks and I get to shift, I'm going to have a turn. And it's going to be a 10 to 12 minute turn. And I'm going to look through probably somewhere between 15 and 20 cards in my deck and pick out a quarter of them, 4 or 5 of them, to refuel my hand and maybe put onto the board. And then just getting to the board states of, I sang with Powerline. I sang Dig a Little Deeper with Powerline. He found another Dig a Little Deeper. Now I've looked at 14 cards and picked 4. Now I'm going to play a Visions, or I'm going to re-ready Powerline, and I'm going to sing What Else Can I Do? And then look at 2 more cards, and then just ink something and do it over and over again. So then setting up your next turn of drop a half shark and then do it all over again and look at another 20 plus cards and pick another 3 or 4 of them to play to the board again. And you end up with this massive board of like 3 Lilos, 3 Olafs, a power line, 2 sharks, and you're just like, I don't know how we got here, but we're here, and I don't think there's any way for my opponent to come back from this. I've clawed back 6 lore, I've re-readied and played like 16 actions in the last 2 turns. And it's just like, I'll count out my Olaf actions once, and then we just both know that there's at least 9 actions in the discard. So here's another free Olaf, and another free Olaf, and another free Olaf. When you're not playing against a purple deck, it goes great. When you play against a purple deck, it's really tough sledding. Yellow, Amber Amethyst, just the early disruption of like an Isis Vanderchill on turn 3, or an Elsa on turn 4 even, or Elsa anytime in the game, to be quite honest. It's really, really tough sledding, and I don't think I was prepared enough for that type of mid-range purple matchup, and I just kind of floundered a little bit in those 2 matchups and lost both of them. That being said, any semi-aggro list, this deck handled with ease. Just power line searching for grab your bow off of a Dig a Little Deeper or a power line trigger. I think I power line triggered a grab your bow at one point in one of the games that I won, and I think in the game I won against the Amber Amethyst, I Powerline triggered. I sang Grab Your Bow, and then Powerline found a Grab Your Bow off of the Powerline trigger, so I just cleared his my opponent's first 4 turns of characters other than the Isis Vanderchill, and it was like, okay, cool, so we're good to go from here, and then it just landslided from there, just kind of sticking a character to the board and running away with it. It was a blast. Even something as simple, and I know, Mack, you know exactly how this feels, and Nathaniel playing Shark at DLC as well, at DLC Milwaukee as well. When you get 2 Sharks on board and you play a Develop Your Brain and you gain 2 lore from it, that just is like, does Shark really need that last line of text to gain a lore with every action? Is just very apparent in my mind the entire time I'm playing cards out. And I'm no longer searching for the big bombs of Olafs and Lilos and Dig a Little Deepers. I'm just trying to find those one cost actions that are just going to fuel my lore total, because I have 2 Sharks on board and it doesn't really matter what else happens if I just gain a ton of lore right now. And it was, yeah, like Nathaniel said, it was an absolute blast to try something different, and be able to finally play Shark, be able to use the Lilos that I've had sitting around since set 8. Visions of the Future is my first time really interacting with that card, and boy, does that filter like a beast. And now I think I'm a little bit addicted to the filter mechanic, and so I'm looking at the set 13 cards, and there's a couple of really great, or at least one. There's two very good filtering cards that I have in mind that I think are going to be very strong for the next 2 years, basically. So I'm looking forward to getting some time in and playing with those cards in particular. But Happy to have the opportunity to have played Shark. Happy to have the opportunity to have played this red, blue, ruby, sapphire list. An ode to Mack, who couldn't make it out to set champs this set, but his colors certainly did. And his colors won me a shiny Woody promo, and it was a blast playing it and seeing all the people. I went to Games Enter, so that's where the anniversary event will be. So shout out to Games Enter for hosting us. They have a beautiful play space, a beautiful play area there. Lots of room, lots of tables, lots of activity options. So shout out to Games Center for being an all-star location. Shout out to AJ, who actually was able to set me up with the missing cards that I didn't have from the list to be able to actually play this red-blue list. So thank you, AJ, for letting me borrow those cards for the day. I'm still sorry that I split your the perfect fit inners that you gave them to me inside of, but I'm grateful that you were able to lend me those so I could play that the fun red-blue actions list. And also thank you, AJ, for hosting the tournament as well. So it was a blast all around for the weekend of Set Champs.
On that note, shouts to Issues Needed. That's where I played. Great store down in Apple Valley, Minnesota, I think. Yeah. They're great.
When I heard you guys play this list, I was so jazzed, so I'm glad you got to play it. But one thought I had too is the power line shift is like a version 2 of this deck that only really became popular in like the last week I've seen, because a lot of what we've seen before, and I in talking with Christian and Hannah a little bit about it last week, like it was definitely the Robin Hood version, and I think both are viable. It's just kind of pick your poison, but because they both want to do the same thing. When I practice the Robin Hood version, it's just feasting on dogs, really. Like that's its primary goal. And Christian, in kind of offline conversations, said that like this is a tier 1 deck if the field is going to be dog, right? So that's something to keep in mind. If you know your player base is kind of the biggest advice that I had gathered over the course of this Set Champ season when running that red-blue deck is like, know your player base. If you're going to run into a lot of Purple Steel, Yerple, Blurple, this is not the list you want to run into because you'll just get absolutely nuked by any purple deck. But if you're going to see smaller decks like Amber Steel to a certain extent as well, as in addition to the dogs, like this deck will do very well against those, and that's something that I had noticed as well. It is very satisfying playing 4 really beefy characters on like turn 3 or 4 for free, essentially. That's where that deck really kind of is its bread and butter, and your opponent just sits there with their jaw dropped and like, I don't know what to do anymore because I don't have Be Prepared and Core Constructed. And that's the only way to manage it, and it's too early to set up some sort of combo with Under the Sea at that point in the game. So it's really fun. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. So it's definitely the high risk, high reward deck, and the one kind of like downside to it is this, like, this was the deck that people figured out the last 2 weeks before rotation, which is a little unfortunate. And the other thing too, you guys mentioned Maui Half Shark and how fun and prevalent that was sets 1 through 8, essentially pre-rotation 1. I just want to say, like, how much that card fell over the course of this rotation. Like, now it worked well, and obviously now it worked well too during the Infinity meta scene with Red Blue. But like, man, we were talking to a lot of people. I remember conversations like 9-10 months ago when we were talking about rotation and how everyone thought it was going to be like the era of the shark because everything else was rotating out, but Maui Half Shark was still here, and like it definitely was not the era of the shark. The ocean had dried up essentially, and we had not seen any sharks in that way. So I'm glad he had one last hurrah. Ryan, you made me chuckle when you said it's kind of weird seeing 2 sharks on board and you play 1 action and then you realize, ooh, I could play another cheap action and then another cheap action, and for no reason whatsoever I've gained 6 lore, and it kind of had that like Merlin goat effect. Yeah, that can be a little toxic and brutal, but it is kind of fun when you're able to pull it off. So again, I'm glad you guys were able to play it in one last hurrah. And we'll see. I don't know. Maybe that's something to pull up and during this Minnesota Anniversary Infinity event, because I think Shark will always be popular in that event for at least the foreseeable infinity future.
I do also think there's two reasons why it wasn't the era of the Shark. The first is that Ravensburger decided to forget about Ruby as an ink color. And then I think the second one was printing of the card Horseman Strikes. I don't know, maybe not quite as much as the Ruby effect there, but I think that certainly affected some Ruby, but definitely the fact that Ruby did not get the support that other colors got, I feel like really took away from Shark. If it had gotten even remotely as close to the level of support I think that Amber got over the course of the last few sets, I feel like Shark would have totally been able to still exist.
Yeah. You could tell people wanted to as well. Like every new set that was released, people were like, what can I do with Maui Half Shark? And then after a week of like initial play testing with the set, they're like, sadly it's not going to work, but at least they gave me hope for 7 days.
Yeah, I finally, I can say that I am so proud of you two for playing a non-purple deck. It has been a long time coming, and now you can come to the jank side and just feel the anticipation, the jaw clenching, the toes curling, like please stick, please stick, please stick. I have a 5-6 move turn coming up if this one character sticks. And it's just when it works, and wow, it is euphoric, it is great. And now we get to do it all over again. We can find those fun combinations. We can look for these new cards, new interactions, and it all starts in a week and a half. And so as we're getting into set 13, Attack of the Vine, let's go ahead and talk about some of our favorite cards, favorite deck lists. Are we cooking? Are we feasting? Or are we famished? Let's go ahead and talk. Mack, you have some ideas. Let's hear from you.
I have nothing to say other than that was an amazing first transition, Konnor. Kudos to you. I loved the transition from set champs to set 13. That needed to be said. I saw Nathaniel smile too, because he was probably thinking the same thing. Well done, sir. I'm not going to be ready with set 13, so someone else take it over.
Thank you.
Well, I will respond to Connor's praise that we are playing something other than purple and dash all of your hopes and dreams, Konnor, because the only 3 decks that I've even played around with so far are all purple. Purple is still objectively the second best color in the game. The first
Stupid
best being
Dumbo.
Amber. So Amber Amethyst is one deck combination I've been noodling around with, and it's incredibly consistent. It has the early game disruption with the purple cards. It has the Force Exerts. It has the Hades looking for a deal to force your opponent into tough situations. And then when they make the decision to tuck their card, then you just play Demona the next turn and draw the cards anyways, and take everything else off the board too. It has the evasive battles, it has Dumbos, it has big characters, it has multi-questers. Amber Amethyst just seems like it has it all. Amber has it all, Amethyst has it all, has all the card draw in the mid-range game. Amber has the value cards, and you just kind of went off the back of value right now, and the handful of games that I've been able to play with it. So that's the first one I'll talk about, and the one card that I do want to focus on, the queso, I suppose, in this taco salad, is the new set 13 card, Besties Assemble. It's a 1-cost inkable action. When you play this card, you may look at the top 4 cards of your deck and select a 1 character card and put that into your hand and put the rest on the bottom in any order. The fact that this card exists this card might be the single most played and best card in set 13, and I'm saying it now. It is a 1-cost action that effectively guarantees your Amber decks are going to find some sort of a 2-cost ramp into a 4-cost character. Whether they're playing Ham or they're playing the new Pocahontas, which is an inkable 2-cost. I think it's a 2/3 maybe, or 2/4. And when you play this character, you can play a 1-cost character for free. Or the Grandmother Willow that we've grown to know and love over the past couple of sets. Whether they're playing 8 copies of one of those 3 characters, effectively by playing Bessie's Assemble on turn 1 and having the Mulligan phase to search for that 2-cost character as well, the yellow Amber decks are going to be able to find that 2-cost character 99 times out of 100, I think. I don't know the exact math on it. I haven't done that yet. but I have to think it's very high because the math was very high with develop your brain in blue lists looking for a specific card, and now this is even more specific, and you get to dig an extra 2 cards with the 4 cards off the top instead of just 2. So I think Bessie's Assemble might be one of the best cards, if not the best, in the Attack of the Vines core constructed metagame, simply before the consistency that it provides. Even something as simple, like a lot of times when people were talking about Sail the Azurite Sea in blue decks, they were talking about the fact that even as a late game card, this turn 2 ramp option was incredibly flexible and useful still because it could just replace itself. Now Bessie's Assemble does that same thing for 1 cost, and if you have 6 ink and you play Bessie's Assemble and you're looking for any card, you can find a Hades, you can find a Demona where you can ink and play it, you could find any other of your 4 or 5 cost characters. If you need to find a Dale and you're like, I don't know, I haven't seen one yet, it's got to be in the top 4 cards, let's play Bessie's Assemble and find that Dale and slam it on board and take some positive trades. The consistency that this 1 cost action provides doesn't feel like that much of a cost when you get to pick the best of 4 options to add to your hand. I just think it's an incredible card, and it smooths out the deck like nobody's business. Amber decks don't have this business being as consistent and smooth as they currently feel. Amethyst draws a million cards. It's incredible. So Amber Amethyst is the first one that I've been playing around with. And there's a couple other ones, and they're all purple. Konnor, I'm sorry to dash your hopes and dreams. What else have y'all been playing around with so far?
You know what, Ryan?
Welcome.
That is okay. I apologize for any purple slander. It is fitting, however, that your favorite card and your vote for the best card is Besties Assemble, as the DuckTale Dads and Scrooge McDad are coming together for our podcast for the first time as a group of 4. You're like, you know what? It's thematic. The besties were together. It's a wholesome moment. I love it. So I'm not gonna shy away from the purple deck list as long as it's including the besties. So let's Nathaniel, I interrupted you a little bit. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and hear from you. What are you cooking with?
I was gonna say welcome to the dark side, Ryan. You're joining the Urpal legions. So Ryan sent me a list earlier today, and it had this Bessie's Assemble card in it, and I was just like, I like everything but that. And he was like, why? And after I gave it, more than 2 seconds of thought, and Ryan was like, this helps you like find the 2 cost, effective ramp option, right? I was like, well, yeah, that's like develop your brain, but instead of looking at 2 cards, you look at 4, and it's character heavy, so you're going to find a character. So like, or the character that you're looking for, right? So like, to that point, I think it can't really be overstated the fact that Amber becomes this like pseudo ramp color, and it kind of already was becoming that with the printing of a card like Willow. I mean, it kind of existed with Lantern even as early as set 10. We were seeing that a little bit, but now with Willow, that's really good. And then now we have cards like Ham, right? Like you can really make that consistently happen. And as we have seen with several sets, Ryan would know this better than anyone, right? Like the power of playing a 4-cost character on 3 and a 5-cost character on turn 4, that is tremendous. And if this can help ensure that actually happens and consistently happens, that just means, again, it's more unlike the power line deck. Consistency is generally pretty good over the course of many games. So I think that card is, to Ryan's point, it's going to be amazing. I have like another pick that's more of just like a funny one. That like as a fan of these franchises, I saw him print on a card and was just like, let's go. And of course it's Stinky Ruby, but it's Colonel Hathey. I don't know. He's one of the elephants from the Jungle Book. And he's the one who sings that like marching song as they're going through the forest. And I couldn't help but smile when I saw that card. Just because that character is so awesome, and I feel like he's fairly forgettable. Like, not many people would think of that. They'd be like, name a Disney elephant. Like, who's saying that guy, right? Everyone's saying Dumbo. So that card's cool, and like maybe he has like some location synergy, right? So the card I'm talking about is Colonel Hathey on the March. Whenever this character quests, you may move him to one of your locations for free. He's a 5/5 cost quest for 2. So if Ruby isn't bad, I could see him maybe making his way into a location deck, and it made my heart happy seeing him because he's so cool. Another thing that I'm really interested in is this. I'm still really intrigued by Ruby Steel. I don't know why. because it's so far from what I'm used to playing. But now that we have this one cost dash par, the 1/1 evasive quest for one, I feel like this dash par and violet par combo card could go crazy. So that the card that I'm talking about, for those who we're not sharing our screens. The card that I'm talking about is the 8 cost inkable 5/5 quest for 2 dash par and violet par super siblings. It's a combo shift 6, which reads, you may pay 6 ink to play this on top of one of your characters named dash par, one named violet par, or one of each. It has evasive and resist +1. Whenever this character quests or challenges, draw a card for each card under them. I feel like that is incredible because it gives Ruby Steel specifically options to draw, but it also lets you do it in a way that isn't entirely dependent on challenging. So now you can sit here and you can just start turning this sideways. It's a big body. It's got resist, so you can't just get hit by He Hurled His Thunderbolt, right? And you quest for 2 and you draw 2 cards because there's 2 cards under this because you did the combo shift thing. That's really powerful. And in a deck like Ruby Steel that like kind of has always been just card draw away from being maybe really scary, I feel like this card is awesome, and I think that they're giving it like the right level of support. That said, that was kind of one of the only ones that like really jumped out to me. I think there are some really cool limited cards though that I'm seeing in here. Like, I can't wait to surprise someone with RAR in limited, which is the what? Why am I talking about Ruby? It's the 1 cost inkable Ruby card. Chosen character gets +3 strength this turn. I mean, just imagine the trade up you could do in like a limited fashion where someone's like, oh my gosh, I did not see that coming. Because generally I feel like that's just like such a powerful move in limited, where you're either decreasing strength or increasing strength, and making those types of trades where it kind of gets clunky and awkward. But same thing with the Sapphire card Startle. Chosen character gets -3 strength this turn. I think that might be even better because now you can make a trade and survive that trade versus like trading up, right? So I think that could be a really cool limited card. I'm starting to think about limited, right, as we're on the eve of pre-release, which, by the way, I might be more excited just about pre-release than anything else right now as far as like the cards themselves go, because of how much fun pre-release was during Wilds. I don't know if you guys remember, but like getting that like special box, right? And like having your pre-release, yes, Mac, having like the pre-release promo card in there, the postcard that I totally forgot about when we were talking about with Rebecca Quests, like the 6-pack, like it was just, that was such a fun time. I feel like pre-release has always, or like the sealed has always been fun. But there was just like extra juice there because it was like this exclusive product to pre-release events. That just gave it a little bit of extra oomph, and obviously the Perkins goes crazy, so that was also kind of, I think, the reason why I loved it so much. But I am very excited, and I'm very sad, Konnor, that you will not be able to attend that. Yeah, I'll pass to you guys. I've talked a lot about legitimately like 3 cards.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be a sad moment not to be with the guys. However, the World Cup is not the worst second option. But yes, I think that there are a lot of very cool cards coming, especially for the limited cards that you mentioned. One thing, a fun fact, I don't know if you guys know, but the Boo character in Monsters Inc., in order to get, it was a toddler who voiced the character. I'm not sure if it was actually the producer's toddler or not, but as parents of toddlers, you'll know that they are unpredictable. And so in order to get the audio to sound genuine and like actually fit into the movie, they just simply followed the toddler around the set for like hours, recording every single sound the toddler made, and then just pieced it together throughout the movie. My wife was telling me that, and it just made me laugh because it's just like, yeah, I can absolutely see them just following with like a giant boom mic, and like waiting for her to stumble or waiting for her to find something. And he's like, ooh, ah, rar, and it's just kitty meow. It's just, oh my gosh, it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, again, there's plenty to cook with, and I'm really looking forward to set 13 myself. Of course, looking at the blue-green Mickey and Minnie combination, shift 0, quest for 5, and then ramp for 3 when it's going to be banished. That'll be fun. Looking at some green steel discard and some lemon lime toys. A couple different deck lists going on. But however, plenty of testing to be done. Definitely looking forward to what deck lists that our listeners have. Of course, they could leave some comments with their ideas and tell us what you guys are cooking. And of course, I don't want to leave Mack out of out of the game of cooking. So I have to ask, Mac, you're growing a garden, you're making a meal for the summer. What are you cooking from your garden, and what meals have you had for your family in your own variety of cooking rather than Lorcana cooking? Let's hear it.
Gosh. Probably anything potatoes, because I'm expecting hundreds of them out of the 20 potato plants that I've alluded to in previous episodes here. So I'm not so much the meal. I think it's the meal prep that I'm probably getting ready for in terms of a cooking aspect, because as soon as those are harvested, I have to dice so many potatoes, probably for like 2 hours. Good thing I have one of those like automatic chopper things that I can just go crazy with. But yeah, anything potato related is going to be my jam for probably all of the winter. So I'm thinking roasts, or I love a good mean crock pot meal. So anything of that nature that I can throw some random potatoes in there and see where it goes, that is where I'm going to go, most likely. But in terms of like applying that to like what am I cooking for Lorcana and that end of things, I've been noticing a theme, which is kind of fun, and that's, I think, what during all of our conversations, something that I'm very excited about, just like, what is Ravensburger trying to do from a theme side of things? And I'm looking at all of these duo inks on Dreamborn as we speak. First of all, didn't notice it before, but I think every single one of the dual inks right now has either an iconic or an enchanted, so that's kind of cool. But it got me thinking further, like, in terms of like cooking things together, I think the first set, kind of thinking back into Fabled as well, we saw a lot of decks that were focused on like the 2 or 3 really, really powerful cards in that combination. And I think Ravensburger is trying to make those really, really powerful cards those duo ink cards. Like, I'm looking at the Lilo and Stitch, like that's going to be the main foundation of anything Amber Steel. I'm really actually intrigued about this Aladdin Genie. Oh my gosh, flash, like Mack talking about Amethyst. What's going on here? But Aladdin and Genie, I am super excited to see what happens out of it. Here's another one, Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, and thinking back to what is still going to be here. Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, the ability, your characters gain evasive. Okay, does that mean Dumbo's really good again? Like, I don't know. So like all these decks seem, or at least what I'm thinking right now in like a pre-release side of things, they're gonna have these duo inks be the core focus of them, and it's trying to like, how do you want to build around them, and kind of pick your poison in terms of what color combinations you want to put together. Ryan, I'd be curious to know from you after this is the Pocahontas in one. I don't know if that is in your deck list in terms of a duo ink for the Amber Amethyst side of things. Not sure if that fits, but I don't know. A lot of these duo inks are really, really fun. And I think they're going to be staples for set 13 for sure. And also a thing that I've noticed is, I think more so than ever, I think I can start to pick out the cards that might not be good now, but in a set or two could be really good because their abilities just seem too good to be true. Sadly, I think my favorite color is just going to be absolute buns coming out of the gate in set 13, and that's Sapphire. I think Sapphire is not looking good based on what has been released so far. I hope I'm wrong. Because it is obviously my favorite color. But Sapphire, I think, is going to see the biggest change, not having turn 2 ramp or a consistent turn 2 ramp. So what is Sapphire going to look like? But the card I'm looking at to see like when more cards are released from set 14 and 15, this Henry J. Waternews the third, I think could be really, really good in future sets. It's a 6-cost uninkable 5/5 quest for 2 with the ability, the bottom line. When you have more cards in your inkwell than each opposing player, this character gets +2 lore and gains ward. As we have found out over the last 2 sets or so, how powerful the ward keyword is, and I think not necessarily slept on, but wasn't the primary focus in, sets 1 through maybe 9 or 10. Ward is huge and has been huge ever since like the traditional board wipes have been removed. So I think that card could be really, really good depending on what cards are released in or have yet to be revealed or are going to be released in subsequent sets with this next rotation. So, but I really want to try and cook together. I think I'm most intrigued about this Aladdin and Genie, as well as I started playtesting a lot of the toys lists, specifically the Amber Ruby, and then also just seeing this Woody and Buzz Lightyear on the back end of me seeing Toy Story 5. That looks really fun to play. So, and trying to fit in what this Sully and Boo is going to do from an Amber Ruby perspective and how that fits into things. The very few lists that I have seen, like these Amber Ruby songs with the new Turning Red cards, seem really, really exciting. So that's primarily where my first lists are going, are towards those toys with the Amber Ruby, as well as seeing what Aladdin and Genie and what the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell are going to do, and then go from there. I think, as I've alluded to over the past, like really this entire rotation, like I want theme, I want thematic, I want purpose, instead of just compiling a set of just really powerful cards that have no meaning together. We seem to be moving in that direction with a lot of these cards and a lot of these reveals, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So those are a couple of the ones that I'm looking at on the top of my list for now.
Yes, Ward is strong. Newsflash. It's, yes, something that has been very intriguing to me. You could tell who I've been playtesting with, Purple, and I'm tired of getting targeted. So let's go ahead and, yeah, add some Ward to these lists. One elephant, as Nathaniel also said he was enjoying, that I'm enjoying, is Winifred, the 6-cost, 6/6 Quest for 2 Ward. Emerald, kind of basic vanilla card. However, that is a brick house. That is a very large animal and is warded. So that'll be a fun one to try and toss into some lists. It's essentially a John Silver without the reckless ability, but man, that'll stick around for a minute. So yes, it will be the first time in forever that we have not had a second or a turn 2 ramp for Sapphire. So we're really entering a new stage of what are these decks going to look like, and I think that I would like to do a quick round robin off the cuff. What do you think will win the next big tournament that we have with set 13 included? Are we doing aggro, mid-range, or control? I'm going to kick it off to you, Ryan. What are your thoughts on this first upcoming big tournament? What is winning? And what colors do you think they'll be?
I've thought about this. I've already had thoughts about this. I've already had conversations about this. This is something I've noodled on. Aggro usually does very well beginning of rotations because that's the simple. Like I'm just going to play a lot of things. I don't need to predict what other people are playing in order to win a tournament with aggro or to go really really far in a tournament with aggro. I think we already have a very strong aggro list out there in Amber Emerald. It was dogs, and now it is going to be more toys oriented. Princesses and toys, I think, is what the route that it's going to go. It's going to play Bessie's Assemble. It's going to play Aurora and maybe Pluto, maybe not Pluto, because if you have Bessies, you can find Willow. But Aurora and Willow and Eilonwy and 4-cost Eleanor, right? Eleanor? So the 4-cost Queen, the uninkable 4-cost, that's a 3/4, quest for 1. When you have 3 other characters exerted at the end of your turn, you may deal a damage, gain a lore, and draw a card. That's going to go crazy. And then just the toys package around that solid princess core with Jessie, and your Shift Woody can be your replacement emergency singer to sing Under the Sea even sooner. You can play the Maylin Lee that's new in set 13, which is a 1-cost inkable 0/3 quest for 1 that has singer 3, and this character can only sing together songs or cannot sing a song without sing together. Which is null and void when the only song in the deck, the one of 2 songs in the deck is Under the Sea, and that's what you are trying to do. So even without any other cards, with just 3 cards in your hand, with 2 Maylin Lees and 1 Grandmother Willow, you can sing Under the Sea on turn 3. That still exists. I'm sorry for everyone that's playing anything less than any 2 strength or less characters on turns 1, 2, or 3 in your decks, because you still can get nuked by an Under the Sea with an incredible card draw from your opponent. There's also in that same Amber Emerald deck, if they want to go more control route and less of the aggro route, but still have the aggro options. There is a character from Turning Red. I forget the name. That's I think a 3-cost inkable 2/3 that looks at the top 4 cards of your deck and picks a song out. So there's your filter for your Under the Seas. So we still have the tramp effect available to filter through for just the Under the Sea specifically, I suppose, in this setting. But it still exists there. So it's Ariel Spectacular Singer, but on a new card. And so there's that little wrinkle you can put in to sing even more consistently and earlier. And then you have the aggro package outside of that with Eleanor, giving you extra lore every turn. You have your Under the Sea to clear the board and just go really, really wide. And so I think Amber Emerald wins the first tournament of the set because I think it'll be just as it has a very strong core and has very good cards outside of that to fit around it. The toys package you could include in there. I mentioned it and then I went the totally different route with the Turning Red characters. But the toys package is your Woodies and your Bullseyes and your Jessies, and the Jessie is particularly problematic because every time you play a character, you spend 2 or less ink to play a card. You can decrease the strength of a chosen character by -1, and so you have this flexible shrink effect to spread across the board right before you sing the Under the Sea to make it even more impactful. And so I think that there's a lot of different options to fit a package around the very strong princess core, with Eleanor being the focus of that, to kind of drive home and win games on a consistent basis. So I think Amber Emerald wins the first tournament, and then 2 weeks later, the next big tournament. Just to expand on your question, I have more thoughts. I think Ruby Amethyst becomes one of the premier mid-range decks. It's either Ruby Amethyst or Amber Amethyst that's going to take the next big event 2 weeks after that first aggro list, or the dogs list wins the first one. Not dogs. Amber Emerald, whatever package they choose. List wins the first tournament. Then it'll be either Ruby Amethyst or Amber Amethyst. Probably more Ruby Amethyst because it has a better matchup into the Amber Emerald lists. They can play the Elisa Massa, they can play Scrooge, they can play really big characters really early. And then the third tournament 2 weeks after that is going to be something like Amber Sapphire or Amber Ruby Toys, like a control list with some Sully and Boo thrown in there. Or somebody figures out Blue Green or Emerald Sapphire to be this big ugly control deck to win that third tournament and kind of take us full circle in our meta game to bring the control list into it. So those are my thoughts. That's what I've been noodling on and talking with other people about.
I love it. Mac, what do you think?
I have a random question for you guys looking at all of these so far. What are your thoughts on locations? They seem to be propping up here, as well as what was the other thing that I noticed here as I'm trying to scroll and do it live on scene? Oh, the Vineling, because that's like the theme of the deck in Attack of the Vine are these Vineling cards. Like, what are our thoughts about locations in those cards and maybe the potential of what those could bring? I'm sure we'll get more in depth about what we've seen over the next week as pre-release weekend, and we could talk about that more next week. But just in general on the reveals, what are you thinking about the Vinelings and locations if someone wants to take a stab at it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think locations, huge. Definitely come in. There'll be a couple different lists. Will they be top tier? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe people will start playing, the actions that banish all the locations, or banish all the locations with the same name or items with the same name. However, I don't think that they're going to be top tier this set. Maybe in the next set or two, but and with the Vinelings, I'm getting flashbacks of illusion characters where it'll be very fun and thematic. However, not a strong enough standalone archetype that will drive the meta. Again, I think it'll be fun. I'll probably try and make it work and try and fail a few times before someone who's much, much smarter than I am, figures it out. But I do think that they will be very similar to the illusion characters. Well, it's like, it was fun while it lasted. However, I just don't know if it's going to be really impactful on the overall meta game. And so I'll have to agree with Ryan. I think that, Lemon Lime is very good and will continue to be good, especially with all the toys and the synergies there. However, I am going to throw throw caution to the wind and say that that Ruby Amethyst list is going to win the first tournament. I think that mid-range is coming in because it's not like we haven't had the last 3 sets to get used to Lemon Lime. And so I think with a slight adjustment, we'll have some mid-range game coming in. But let's hear from Nathaniel. I want to hear what his thoughts are on some of the Vinelings, locations, the upcoming big tournaments. What are your thoughts on what we should be expecting?
Yeah, I think I would probably go along the lines of what Ryan said. Um, we've kind of been talking about like the Amber Emerald replacements, right? I think for a while. And yes, I think that deck will be taking a hit with the loss of a few cards. The Tramp filter matters, right? Like that was a big deal for that deck. The like don't sleep on the fact that like the small Tramp could beef up some Ding Dong Bobby Zimmerowski and make him like a 7 strength character out of nowhere, right? Like that matters too. Like that gave the deck some other things that it probably shouldn't really necessarily should have had access to. Emerald Chronicon, like that existed. That's getting shifted out. Thank goodness, by the way. And then the other one, which I think really lost a lot of its luster towards the end of set 12, which was the Lady Shift line. So I think a lot less reliance on that and more reliance on Eleanor became a thing. And I think that's definitely going to be the blueprint going forward with Eleanor and the toy package that Ryan mentioned, where you're still getting to play a lot of stuff for free or for discounts. You're still having access to a lot of like good synergy and high questing and all this fun stuff. And the card that Ryan didn't mention, because it's not a new card that I think will make that Under the Sea even more painful, is that new super rare Mickey that enters play exerted, and then you can just keep, nerfing all their guys. You can still sing Under the Sea, that's still going to exist. And I just think a deck like that gets to puke out so many guys and still has access to something like a conditional board wipe, it still is going to be really good. So, like, yes, I think it takes a hit, but I still think it's going to be that good where it will win the first one, and that won't be the last big tournament it wins either. I think it's going to stick around. I think it might not be as dominant as Dogs was, especially during set 12, but I think it's going to be a problem of sorts. And I think it all stems from the tree, if we're being honest. It's the tree.
Oh, it's Willow. I hate that card. I think that's the one that needs to be just... Sure, you tried it, you swung and you miss, in my opinion. Like, or maybe you swung and you hit 3 home runs in one with that card. I think that needs to be gone, and you need to get rid of that card. But who knows? Something will change, obviously, because we're rotating. So we just we'll need to see what happens. The other thought that popped in my head when we're talking about like major tournaments coming up is like, Continentals are right around the corner too, and that's what this set is going to be. So like, Continentals I think is just going to be core constructed, is my thought and opinion. Not like Worlds where they had a lot of different variations. We can't really do that in a Continental scene or type of tournament. But I am excited to see a lot of these new combinations come to fruition in a core constructed setting, as we're getting away from Infinity, right? And seeing how that looks in a Continental side. And for me and Nathaniel, the net deckers of the group, right? And to some extent Ryan, I think that'll be helpful for us to see Continentals and seeing like fully fleshed out decks at that stage in the game, because at that point Konnor's already going to have 30 different decks that are just really spicy, and he'll have it figured out by then anyways. But I think that'll be, though, a tournament like that will be helpful for not only us, but like I think a wide part of the community to be like, all right, what's rotation really looking like here? Because that's kind of how I felt in Fabled as well. Like, I think these couple decks are pretty good. But unlike Fabled, I don't think it's just going to be like 4 really good decks. At first glance, sure, maybe as of right now, there might be some like top tier deck, but usually if there's one top tier deck, a lot of the other decks are finding ways to specifically counter that one. And maybe that's where we'll see the variety, as opposed to Fabled where it was only 4. Maybe we'll see more variety right out of the gate, and we'll see the community be more happy with rotation than what the experience was kind of this time last year. So that's my thought too. Is I think Continentals will be really fun to watch, to see the kind of the next season 3. It's like the season 3 kickoff, and we'll see where that leads us and takes us for the next year to come for sure.
I do just want to echo one thing, Mac, that you said that I'm extremely excited for with this set, and it's the kind of the return, right, of dual ink cards in maybe what they should have been, right? Like outside of the Lady and the Tramp cards, and you could maybe argue like the illusion cards to a lesser degree. Those were like thematic cards, but like the Lady and the Tramp cards were ones that you could truly, I think, build a lot of your deck around that. And I think there's this great opportunity with dual ink to truly like build around that card. Or like we talked about last set, or the Wilds, like Sid being like a build around card for like a Ruby Amber Toys list, right? Like you're going to be banishing your own stuff and getting lore and making them banish things, right? Like that's really interesting. But having that be a dual ink card, I think just makes a lot of sense in my brain, and I think it's what we really hoped would be the case for dual ink cards. So to see them be powerful and specific to maybe that ink color, like this Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, like all your guys get evasive things sounds awesome, right? And you could like actually build your whole deck with having that card in mind, right? Like maybe you don't stuff as many evasives in your deck because you're going to rely on finding one of these, and that's how you're going to get your awesome Dumbo payoff, right? Like that is really exciting, I think, from somebody who isn't a cooker as much, but like will be cool to see how those things shake out and how maybe these can be focal points of decks because they are good and they can be that like glue that makes a deck really work. So I'm excited for that, Mac. I think you nailed that like this is what they were really supposed to be, and I'm really happy that it seems to be the direction that we're going.
From what I can tell, we are all just a little bit excited, I think, just for the next week and a half. But again, we have much testing and so much to talk about. We can definitely talk about deck lists and speculations over the course of the next hour and a half to 2 hours. But however, we are going to go ahead and wrap up today. Tune in next week where we will be talking about some more deck lists and the giant pressure cooker that is sealed pre-release events coming up this upcoming weekend. The anniversary event, again, for those of you who may have forgotten, definitely write it down. August 22nd and 23rd, there will be tons and tons of events. Please sign up. It will be incredible. It was a blast last year. It'll be even better this year. I am sure of it. So again, you can find us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube if you want to see our beautiful mugs. And please let us know if there is any deck list that you think are going to be cooking, because we would love to hear from you guys. Leave comments and interact with us. We'd love to hear what you have to say. But without any further ado, my first official, let's get the duck out of here.